Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Creatives. In this video, we're chatting with Erin Rebecca Nel, a photographer and video editor from Cape Town. I'm looking forward to hearing what she's got to say about her personal work, as well as sharing some insights into what it's like coming into the industry in 2020. What do you consider yourself, a photographer or a videographer, or like how do you?
I would say right now, I'm a photographer and an editor. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And as far as your like background with photography, then how did you get going with that?
That's kind of a long story, and I've made a few notes here so I don't forget. So, but I'd love to dive into it if you.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how much time do we have? I'd love to go into it, because the funny thing is like I never actually considered myself a creative until very recently, and I think a lot of people are kind of feeling that same way. They feel like they're not creative enough, and I feel like my journey into the industry can really resonate with young creatives and really help them. So growing up, I was kind of considered myself an introverted academic. I was very much to myself, and my dad did photography as a hobby, so that's kind of where I heard about it. I kind of started playing a little bit, but it was very much a hobby for him. It was never a career. When I was younger, when I thought of a career in photography, I thought you had to do like studio photography or be like do fashion photography. I thought that was where the money was, and you couldn't really kind of get money anywhere else from it. So I had a pretty like skewed idea of what photography was back then. Obviously had little idea like what it meant to be a creative. My dad is career-wise, my dad's a doctor, and my mom used to be a science teacher, so I wasn't really destined for the arts. But then again, I had a very skewed perception of what photography really was, and what being a creative was. And after school, so I'm only 21, quite young. So after school, I think most people, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I started studying at Stellies, actually. And I dropped out. I was a uni dropout. Which was quite a shock for a lot of people, because I was always the diligent student.
Right.
Because I was just miserable. Like, I was studying like a geography degree.
Okay.
Just because I didn't really know what to study. So I went to that, and I just didn't enjoy it. So I decided, let me stop this. And that was the best decision I've ever made. Like, that was that was it.
Yeah.
Was it a 2018 was the...
Was it a hard like decision to make, with say the pressure of, I don't know if you had pressure from parents or from even like friends or things like that?
My parents were actually so supportive of it, because I think because I lived at home for the first year the first few months of uni, and I lived at home, so they could see like I used to come home and I just wasn't happy, like I wasn't enjoying it. And I'm the kind of person who, I'm a big overthinker, and I'm a very, so I came to them and I was like, listen, I'm not happy, I don't want to do this. And for me to come and say that to them, they knew like, okay, she's thought this through, like,
yes.
She knows what she wants to do, she's not happy. So I think they trusted me with that. But it was definitely, It wasn't easy, knowing that this is a whole year of your life that now you need to kind of figure out what you want to do. It's too late to start another course, kind of thing. So I took 2018, and I really just, I dipped my toes into like short courses, and I actually worked for a wedding photographer for a few months, which was amazing. And I studied photography for 6 months that year, 2018, and kind of just... 2018 was the year where I really started to explore the media industry, but I still didn't really understand it too much. 2019 was a year full of defining moments. This is the year when I believe the man above was like, he flicked a switch and yeah, I realized how big the media industry was in this year. So this was actually only last year.
Yeah.
I started seeing these like vast dimensions of what it meant to be a creative. This is, I found this world of visual storytelling and pairing photography and videography, filmmaking with advertising and marketing, which is kind of my like little academic business brain. I realized that this is an actual career, and I fell in love with it. So I started last year. I started studying marketing communication, and I'm in my second year of that. So we're almost there. It's only a 3-year degree, so I'm halfway there.
Okay.
And 2019 was actually the year where I reached out to an incredibly talented filmmaker. So this turned into my journey with Rained Upon. I think he was looking for an intern, and something inside me was like, you got to reach out like this. You can't let this go. Yeah. So I reached out, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I sent that email, and, it was obviously a big thing on my part to reach out, but I'm so thankful for them. Like, this year with them has been such an eye-opening journey so far. Like, it's black and white. Looking at me before and after this year, my confidence is just so much higher just to have walked this road with him. And but that's something I'll speak more about when we go into one of the images. Yeah.
I mean,
that brings us to now.
Yeah. No, that is awesome. And I mean, that whole thing of kind of like putting yourself out there, or of like sending that email, it is amazing if you look at what made that moment happen, or like when it happened, that if you hadn't have done it, it would have turned out completely different.
Yeah.
And having that, just having that thing of, well, let me just ask them, or let me just like put it out there. Don't, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough. It's amazing like what comes from that kind of attitude in life, just in general.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
You really have to humble yourself, I would say, in this industry as a young creative. You need to humble yourself and say, listen, I don't know enough. I want to know more. Let me reach out. And that's how it goes. That's how you work your way up. So it's really cool.
So would you say that, say, like approaching a production company or someone like that as to get experience, you grow a lot quicker than if you had to, say, go out and just do it on your own and like try and find your own clients?
For sure. I think that was kind of 2018 was the year where I tried to do it by myself. And that didn't really work, because the whole thing is, I always say, like, my friends know me for this, and I don't know where I got this quote, but I always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, because you'll never learn anything there. And I think that's so important for this industry. Like, you need to stay teachable. You need to humble yourself. And, coming on here, chatting to you, I don't have this vast amount of wisdom. I'm 21, nor do I want to come across as kind of thinking I have this wisdom. But yeah, I just want to encourage young creatives to reach out and take that step, because it feels uneasy and it feels uncomfortable, but that's the feeling. Like, that's called growing, that's how you grow, and that's how you mature in the industry. So for sure, I'd say reach out to production companies, go and shadow someone, go and, carry their bags. Like, it's the small things that really get you in the door. And like working with Rained Upon just for this year now, my skill set and my like confidence has just grown tremendously, just from sitting in a room with someone so talented and with another person so talented. It starts rubbing off. You get all these little things and you become so much better just so quickly. So I definitely encourage people to do that.
Yeah, that's definitely great advice. And I mean, the whole thing about only being 21 and thinking that maybe you don't have that much insight and stuff like that, there is I kind of find people who have been in the industry for a very long time, and not necessarily like this industry, just people who are older, they often get very like set in their ways of like, oh, but this is how it's always been done, and this is the right way to do it. Where if you come into something new, you have like fresh eyes. So I think sometimes speaking with someone who's in the beginning of a journey, they often have a much more interesting view of like what is possible, as opposed to like limiting themselves from all their bad experiences that they had before. And so
we still have this
like
like
awesome.
this energy.
Yes, and just like a fresh
I think
look. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, I think this industry really flourishes when creatives work together, and we need more of that for sure, just to teach each other. Because someone coming in like little old me can maybe even teach someone who's been in the industry for a long time just this little, or give them just this little bit of confidence, or not confidence, but like say, I love to do this, and they've never really thought of that before.
100%.
And I think everyone can teach someone something.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of my idea going into how I live my life, is I always want to keep it's again, I talked about it in a previous episode, but it's this book that's called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And it's just about keeping a beginner's mind, which is not thinking that you know. Because as soon as you think you know something, then you actually close doors to learning something new. You're like, oh, I know photography.
Yes.
It means that you're not going to want to, oh, let me try something new, because it's going to feel like, oh, I don't know that. So I kind of want to always keep the thing of a beginner's mind, which is what you maybe like naturally have at the moment just because you're new into it. But what I think happens as people get older into it, they start to lose that beginner's mind and then end up, just doing the same stuff over and over again or something. So that's, I think that's really cool.
For sure. And like, just to not get ahead of yourself as well in the industry, like this whole year, I've kind of just been an intern. And I think that's where you learn the most. You say like, even if you thought you know how to do something, say, okay, but how do you do it? How do you do this? Or ask questions, like, ask questions. If you don't understand something, don't just smile and nod. Like, stay curious. It's so important to stay curious and to keep asking. Yeah.
Let's go through the ones that you've sent me, and then
cool.
Yeah, looking forward to what you got to say.
So this one was, I took this in 2018. This was at my cousin's wedding. I was privileged enough to be asked to take the photos, which was really, really special. So I took this there, and this is my cousin's son, 2 sons. Yeah, and it's special to me because when someone asks you to take pictures at their wedding, a wedding is so special to people, and for them to trust you with this responsibility to capture it is just such an honor. And I've been lucky enough to do this for like 3 really stood out: my cousin's wedding, my boss's wedding, and my good friend from like, we knew each other when we were 4, and I was able to take those pictures, and that really, it's just so special, because looking back, like, they'll also always know, like, this person took this photo. But this one specifically, it's just literally, this photo is 2 of my favorite people in the entire world, and they're just so innocent. Like, he's so happy to have his baby brother at the wedding, and just, it's just so happy. That's why I like it.
Yeah, no, and it's such a special. It's like a moment that you really captured there. I mean, like, they're gonna look back on this when they're older as well and be like, yo, that was.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously might not like remember it specifically, but it's gonna really show the connection that they had since they were young.
Yeah.
And like,
for sure, he was
And like, on the day when this was happening, was it something that you like? How did you get to see this moment happening and actually take the photograph?
This was, they were all getting ready with their dad in the room. And, they don't really understand everything that's going on. They know that mommy and daddy are getting married, but they don't know. They just innocently putting their fancy outfits on, and I think they were just goofing around. They don't know that this wedding is actually quite serious, but they were just playing, and it was just, it happened so naturally. I just saw them I think they were just, as I said, playing on the bed, and I was just like,
that's cool.
It was just really special.
If there's like a photographer out there who's like, oh, how do I like see a moment like this? Because a lot of like photography is obviously, it's about like seeing a potential moment, or seeing a moment is going to happen. and then actually going and capturing it. Is there any advice you'd give to someone who's like, how do I actually see these moments before they're going to happen? Like, is there something that like made you think, oh, I'm going to go take a picture, other than it was just a cute moment? Or
normally, the best photo for me is the one after you say, okay, we're done. Or, okay, I've taken it. It's, then they laugh and they say, oh, thank goodness, like we don't have to pose anymore. And that's the moment. So I would say, keep shooting. Always keep shooting. And I think I learned that from the wedding photographer I worked with. Okay. He would always keep taking the photo after the moment, and that's when you get the pure moments. It's not staged, like those genuine moments where they don't think you're taking a photo. Those are the best photos for sure.
Yeah.
The company I work with, Rain Upon, we had an intern come from America. His name's Avery. I'm sure he won't mind me chatting about him. He's a really cool guy. So he was out here doing some work for the company, and I decided to take him on like a little road trip around Cape Town. And it was the first time where I was actually so excited to show him South Africa, to show him Cape Town. I was like, oh, we can go there, we can go there, we can go there. And I was like sending him messages, I was like sending him pictures, like, do you want to go here? Do you want to go here? And I think it's like, especially the state that South Africa's been in, obviously, to be so excited and so proud to show off your country, just its beauty, is just a really good feeling. And I just encourage people to stay curious about your own country and be a tourist for the day, because these pictures were me being a tourist with him. I was just as amazed seeing these things for the 100th time, and he had just seen it. And that's why they're special to me, because I was literally a tourist for the day.
Yeah, and there's like something to say almost about what you're saying. It's about seeing something for the first time, even though you've seen it 100,000 times before. But to choose to look at it with a fresh eyes is like really special.
Yeah, the black and white penguins one. I love penguins. They were just straight up chilling on the beach. And this day, it was so busy. There were penguins everywhere. And like there was this little bit of beach that just had these 3 little guys. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's the photo.
Yeah, because it's quite hard to isolate them when there's like so many.
And it's hard to get a photo with all the people there. We were there on the wrong day because it was busy.
Is there a reason why you would personally want to convert to black and white as opposed to leaving it in color?
For a photo in general, I think when you want people, sometimes it's useful to go in black and white when you want people to focus on not the photo itself, but maybe that specific subject, or especially with portraits as well. Like black and white is very strong with portraits because, you're not distracted by, these pretty colors. It's, you're looking at a face, or you're looking at the kind of message behind the photo. Interesting. That's how I would convert it. Cool. I think it takes a very strong photo to be able to be in black and white, because often I see photos and I'm like, oh, I wish this were in color. But there's obviously a reason. And yes, this is my friend Jamie. I chose this photo because it reminds me of the community of people that really encouraged me in my photography. So this was taken last year, but it reminds me of 2018, because 2018 was the year where I did that short course through ORMS. And I met, I've known Jamie since high school, but in 2018 we really started to, her and a bunch of other friends, we just constantly went on adventures together and took photos. We were just so in love with the idea of creating, and we would just, I have a note, and I still do it today. I have a note where as soon as I drive past something or I have an idea, I'll write it down. Like I'll say shoot ideas, and like I have this list, just things that just for fun, like no money involved. You just want to go take a pretty picture, and then you choose from the list when you have time and you go for it. And this is what we did. So this was Atlantis Dunes, I think. Yeah, and we went out for the day and I took this, and I love it. Yeah.
So if you go and make that list, are you making a list of like you want to go shoot at Atlantis Dunes, or are you making a list
Yeah.
you have this kind of like portrait in mind already?
It's more the location. I have a separate
Okay.
note where I have like projects to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how would this specific like portrait have like come about on the day? Like
I think we were just playing around with it. She's very, she always, she's very artsy. I love her to bits. She's very, very artsy. And just the way she kind of moves around, she's always just, I don't know how to explain it. And she was definitely like the best model for this kind of shoot. So the purpose of this was to kind of get her eyes and the blue of the sky and the blue of her eyes, because she has like these bright eyes. So I think I just saw the moment. It wasn't planned. It was definitely just there. Yeah.
like during the session, yeah. You have a group of friends who you do these kind of photos with on a regular basis, kind of thing, or like often, or do you often work with new people you've not shot before? This is on the personal side, not on work things.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a bunch of friends that I know would always be down to go take photos. And here and there, like they would bring someone, or I suppose here or there I would also bring someone. But I would say it's been the same group of friends for a bit. Yeah. I'm always keen to like meet new people, but for now it's just been the same, because we went to Orms together. We did the course together, so we know each other from there.
Okay. Yeah, I find it always interesting, the kind of connection between a model and a photographer. And often if I'm like working with, especially when it's like work stuff, if I've just met somebody, it's you're kind of trying to find that connection so you can, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but there is almost like a moment or something that happens when you connect with the model, or when they, you know, like letting their guard down or just like relaxing, that then you can start doing stuff together. It's very cool. So you said you a photographer and then a video editor.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about, like share a bit about your interest in video editing and how that sort of, like how did that begin?
So I've always loved watching movies and like seeing kind of how they did certain scenes, and why did they film from this angle, why did they do that. And I'm that kind of like really irritating person that watches the movie and like I'm constantly just thinking like, oh, that's so cool, or I love how they showed it from below so that he looks more powerful. Like I'm that person. So I've always just been fascinated with that, and I think that's how I started really being interested in filmmaking and creating a story, and kind of just kind of piecing things together, not because they look nice, but because they need to be like that. They need to tell a story. And again, like I never used to think like that. That kind of just came to be. Yeah.
So you sent me the one video where Etienne and then went and shot all the footage in the US of the triathlete, and then
Ben Hoffman.
then he gave you all the footage and sort of let you go with it. How was that experience for you?
So that was really, really cool. It was just such a nice opportunity for me to, because I had never really kind of built a story before, like from scratch, like built a narrative or kind of decided what do I want this to tell. And I think it was during my break from university. I knew he had gone, and I said, or one of us said, like, I should have the footage and I should just play. And before I even touched the footage, or before I started editing it, I had obviously gone through it. I kind of sat with a piece of paper and I'm like, okay, how do I make this how do I make this mean something? How is it not just going to be videos together? Like I really wanted to tell a story. Yeah. And it was the first time where I actually really sat down and, you know, with my themes and what I wanted to say, how do I want it to begin, how do I want it to end. And just to obviously have such good footage to work with helped, like to be given this really cool footage, and then just have creative freedom, and just, there was no brief for this one. I could just go for it, and that doesn't happen very often, and when it does, it's really, really cool. And I think that's where you can really create some magic, really create cool things.
Yeah, that's interesting, because the video didn't have any interviews to drive. I mean, maybe there was interviews, but as far as the edit goes, it didn't have interviews to like drive the story. So you were just doing it through music and visuals, and it was really cool.
Played a lot with sound design and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes. No, it was. It definitely like tells a story in a way that you didn't need any words for.
Yeah, thank you. I had a lot of help back and forth and stuff like that, and obviously watching things that ET's done, or that just other filmmakers have done. Just being inspired by that, it definitely encourages you to do something on your own, and to. It really does. When there's nothing to go off, it's a good way to show your abilities and show your creative mind, to be able to build something like that. But that also, that builds from being around other creative people. I would never have been able to do that a few years ago. It's from being around all these creative people and kind of feeding off them that you're able to do these edits and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it can definitely be quite like daunting almost to not get a brief, because if you get a brief, it's very, there's like a shot list, they've got it in order. Sometimes it's very specific that you literally are just like cutting and putting it in the timing that they want it, and there's not, there is a certain amount of creativity
that's
you can
also
play with, but
nice.
For sure, but it can be quite daunting to get a project like this where it's here, like here's all the footage and let's see what you come up with. And it's like, oof, that can be quite, but again, it's
quite cool. Cool challenge.
And the second video that you sent me was about the TB awareness at the schools. You want to chat a bit about that?
Yeah, that was super special for me, because it was the first time I've really been able to do something that really meant something, or kind of brought awareness to something. So that was, we worked with the Division of Molecular Biology and Human Genetics. Okay.
Wow.
They'll be proud if they ever watch this. So we did that with them from Stellenbosch, their division there at Stellenbosch, and they went into this community, quite a lower class area, and then they had like this program where they educated these kids about what TB is and how dangerous it actually is, and then they they kind of had an environment with like a studio and stuff that the kids actually recorded these songs about what TB is.
That's cool.
And it was just so cool. Like, it taught me a lot. Like, you don't often go on shoots and you're like, oh wow, this is so interesting. Like, it really was amazing. And to be able to, like, technically, yes, this was work, but we were able to kind of create this thing that is kind of for good. Like, it's going to make an impact on the world, and it's going to educate people. So to be a part of that, I think, is really important, because if we don't use our skills to do good, then what good are they? Like, we need to use them for good, and to kind of communicate stories that people, like these scientists, have all this knowledge, but they don't know how to communicate it. So to be able to communicate it for them through this, through visual storytelling, is just amazing to be able to do that. So this one, it's quite a actiony, quite a cool photo. But I'm not proud of it because of the photo. I'm proud of it because it means something to me, because this was the first time when I was flown somewhere for a shoot, where I was like sent somewhere to shoot. It was only like PE, but it's the small things. You need to be proud of the small things. And this, to someone, if they see you hopping on a plane going to a shoot, it's special, So that's why it means something to me, because it was my first time being flown somewhere for a shoot. So it was really, really cool. We got to document all these enduro races, and we followed these two teams, the KTM and the Husqvarna races. So we followed them around, and with our little walkie-talkies in the wilderness. They're here, like they're coming here, so that was really cool. And we were able to document that. You see, this is something that I would never have imagined being a job when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know, this was never something that I thought was a career. So that's also why it's important to me, is because it just shows like what you can do. Oh my goodness.
It's all good.
That's my dog.
The whole experience of being like flown somewhere to do it, just explain a little bit more about that for you. Like, how was that? How did it feel when you're actually going?
Well, it felt good for someone to trust you with that and say, listen, we know what you're capable of. You're perfectly capable of photographing this on your own. Go out there and, you know, go do it. To have that trust definitely means a lot. Yeah, and this was only after a few months, I think, with the company I work for, with Rain Upon. Just kind of, obviously we had documented some of the races together, and then there was this one in PE, and my boss was like, you should go for it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go. And then it turned out to be super chilled and just really a bunch of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think he sent me a message and he was like, remember these moments, because it's these little moments that you're going to look back on that you maybe didn't think were big moments, but it's definitely something to be proud of. And I think it is important, like as young creatives, to be proud of how far you've come and like what you've already learned and what you've done, because it's easy to feel inferior when you start out, because obviously you are technically, but you know, you need to stand tall and also be proud of how what you have achieved so far, because yeah, you can't, you know, don't let people belittle your achievements.
Yeah.
Be proud of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there any other advice you'd give to like young creatives who are either entering the industry or who are wondering, you know, can I do it, or anything like that? I
just would say surround yourself with people who make you better and who make you want to be better. You know, stay teachable, stay humble. Don't think you know everything. There are a lot of creatives there are a lot of young people like that. They think they know everything, and there's just so much to learn. And like coming here talking to you, I don't have that much to talk about because I'm so young, but that's also so exciting for me. Like I don't have this vast amount of wisdom to share because I still need to learn it. I still need to grow, and that's exciting. So stay eager to learn, you know, stay hungry to create, for sure. Don't fall into the trap of doing it just because it's a job. Don't fall into that trap, for sure. But yeah, reach out, take the risk, because sometimes really cool things happen if you do that. Yeah.
And your the plans for any specific plans for the future, or like near?
I'm very excited to finish studying. It's kind of like a joke. 2019 was the year of Rain Upon and the year of college and the battle between the two. Because obviously, like this industry, being a creative, you don't really need a degree. But I decided to stick with my degree because it's more of like the business side, and it can be beneficial if you want to go like corporate one day and stuff like that. So I'm very excited to finish that and be able to be a full-time creative, because right now I'm consider myself a part-time creative and a full-time academic, but it's actually the other way around between you and me. But yeah, excited to get into the industry full time and continue with personal projects. That's why I admire you. Like, I know your professional work you do, but then I see like all the projects you do on YouTube and doing this Coffee with Creatives thing. You know, you do it because, or I'm assuming you do it because you want to and you enjoy the process of creating. And I definitely want to make sure that I don't lose that when I get older, that I still pursue the personal projects. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, Erin. Thank you so much for sharing. And if you're only a part-time creative now, it's got to put you have to put a warning out there to the industry for when you become full-time, because geez, if this is all what you've already done, people need to be watching their jobs. No, I'm just joking. But you're going to be a very such a good asset in the industry and in people's lives to tell their stories and stuff. I just think you're going to do some amazing work. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Please take a look at Erin's work by clicking on the links in my description. And if you have any suggestions of who else I can interview on this project, please let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next video.